have you able to overcome this trauma of abuse. So that's the whole point of it here. So we will have a session, a moment near the end for any questions that anybody wants to ask. But feel free as we are talking, if you have any questions or anything you want to ask, feel free to ask it. And yeah.
And I think there's this question box thing that people can now type in their questions. Yeah. So I think they're typing that question mark. You can type in your questions for us to answer in the end as well. So
yeah, that's true. That's true. I think they'll have to do it through your end because it's your live. Yeah. So because I don't have it here, but yeah, that's fine.
All right, yeah.
Okay, so if I'm looking down, it's because I've got all my questions in there. Just to follow the schedules, make sure we're not going.
Isn't it funny that like I'm kind of being interviewed but on my own live?
But it's all good. It's all good. So I just really hope and pray because my internet connection is really bad, so I had to take it off my Wi-Fi.
Okay.
So I really hope that nobody calls me stupid. And just a disclaimer: if you do hear sirens right now, it's because I live literally by a high street. Yeah, when summertime comes, that's when all the badness wants to happen. So just throwing that out there, just letting you know. So we're going to jump straight in. I'm going to ask Vanessa to, please give us a short, explain, tell us who you are, what you do, what you're about.
Okay, so I'm Vanessa. I'm going to be 30 next month.
Are you watching?
Are we in May yet? No, it's not May yet.
Yeah, but I feel like the volume does matter because it's screen recording, so the volume's low. Would it record the volume?
I used to be a lecturer, so I
At its
used to
low
teach
rate.
business for about 8-9 years until maybe
Do I need to put the volume up?
when I gave that up.
Or is it recording the volume as this that's at this rate?
It was difficult just to go back to work, and the cost of having children, paying for childcare just to go to work. And the contract I was on was I get paid for the time I'm in the classroom. I didn't get paid for when I have to do the market during the night. I didn't get paid for any of that. I didn't get paid for the
What do you mean by that?
On paper it sounded like a nice career, but practically it wasn't working for me. So that I gave that up, and maybe about 4 years ago, after I had my first son, I struggled with being at home and not doing anything, just maternity. I just couldn't do it. I like building things, I like creating things. So that's when I started my first blog, Precious Earnings, and it was all about money saving tips, how I can save £100 when I go food shopping, get meat for 20p, kind of that whole life. But then as time went on,
frugal queen, guys.
As time went on, I'm a Christian first and foremost. So I was just like, every time I was talking about money saving tips, Jesus is in there. And then people are reading my content like, I came here for money saving tips. So that's what led me to just pivot a bit and just move towards what God's really called me to, is to be a help to other women. Serve other women. And God gave me this word in 2010.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was in India this time because I went there to teach. And when I was out there, I was just like, God, I've been joking about with you for too long. I go to church for a bit and then, go link my, then, hit that clock. And then I'll be at church with no fail. I will not miss church for nobody. But my life isn't reflecting Christianity. So that's when God just gave me a word that you will start a new church. You'll be a small church. You need to get involved. And I've called you to help women. And then...
Sorry to cut you off there. Of course. I have Royalty MK. Hi, Muriel. She came up with a very good suggestion. She said if we can actually pin the subject so that later comers can actually understand.
Oh, so what do I type?
Overcoming abuse as Christian women.
Yeah, give me a second. Oh gosh, yeah, you can probably see up my nose, innit?
Alright, no. It's alright. It's all the perks and the beauty of being on a live.
As a Christian woman.
Yeah.
I haven't pinned before, so how do I pin it? I hold it down or something like that.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, there it is.
Is it pinned?
I see it as a comment. But I think so. Guys, is it pinned? Please let us know.
How do I pin something? Yes.
We're all learning today. We're all learning. Does anybody know how we actually pin it. Oh, it says it's not pinned. Kirsty, do you know how we can pin it? Please. Yeah, it's not pinned.
All right, so saying, I've seen on other people's lives, they just press it down, but it's not doing it.
I hope you don't have to have like a certain amount of followers.
Oh, there we go. I was pressing for too long.
Okay, oh, there we go. Perfect. Okay, thank you.
I think I was supposed to tap and then get the option.
Oh,
I'll just
right.
press.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. Thank you for the suggestion. Okay, over to you again. Continue.
Where was I?
The Lord said when you were in there, he was telling you that you need to get serious with him and that you need to church.
Yeah, stop dilly-dallying. Stop dilly-dallying. And I think being in India, I feel like I'm just going straight into my testimony right now. Being in India made me realize that I serve the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, and I'm doing joke things.
Wow.
Don't come and like being there, like because obviously in India they have like a lot of them are like Hindus and they've got many gods and like either like mainly Hindus or Muslims. So a lot of Hindus like they did a lot of like idol worship and things like that, and the rituals they had to do just to please this one god, like having to pour milk over this god 24 hours. So someone's always at the temple pouring milk over this shrine 24 hours, and I'm seeing this and I'm like, wow, non-stop. There's always people switching around, but you don't stop pouring no matter what time it is, just to please this god. Or people having to walk 7 hours drive worth of walking to a shrine just to get a blessing for that year, and they have to take their shoes off on their way. The earlier they take their shoes off, the more sacrifice it looks like they've made, the more blessing they'll have, and they're carrying gifts of baskets of gifts just to take to the shrine for blessing for a year, and then they have to do it again the next year. And I was just like, I serve a God that I can be anywhere. Pardon?
Yeah, that literally paid it all for us. Like, we didn't have to.
It's just like I serve a God that I can get down on my knees and I know he hears me, and I can worship him and I know he hears my voice. And we're having spiritual attacks because there are a few girls that used to pray together. Some of them will get spiritual attacks saying, hello, this is not your territory. Can you not mention the name of Jesus? People are getting in their dreams, being suffocated, doing all of like the spiritual things that happen in India was just like, hey, I can't play this religious hypocrite life anymore. I can't do this. Yeah, I'll be out of a rave. Someone will come and tell me about Jesus, and I'm like, do you know who I am? Do you know? Oh my God. I went to Bible school. Do you know I have purity ring? I was so deluded in my honestly, I was so deluded in my self-righteousness because I had head knowledge and I had an experience of God, and I've been in an environment where God's moved. So I thought, hey, that's my ticket. I have a relationship with him because I do that. And that's led, like, being in India was just like, I can't keep doing this. And partly was because I used to visit a lot of churches, but I wasn't settled anywhere.
So I was asked the question, sorry, just before it goes. It says, what brought you to India?
So in 2010, I was at uni, and the reason why I went to India was because I didn't want to do a placement year. So I wanted to find something I can do over the summer holidays so that it looked like I've got something on my CV. So I applied for, even that's a funny story, I applied for Christian Aid. They had a charity program where they send people to third world countries. And so I thought, hey, Christian, hey, I'm a
why not? Let's jump on it.
So I registered, went to my interview. I was all hyper spiritual. I was just like, yeah, I feel like God's called me to, help the world. And just to find out Christian Aid had nothing to do with Christianity. Nothing. Nothing.
Yeah. Sometimes they only bear the name, unfortunately.
Just bear the name.
It started that way, and then obviously along the way.
Exactly, and it's just changed. But yeah, that's why I went to India. So I went there to teach and like do some development work. So I was there for about 10 weeks.
Okay, that's like just over 2 months.
2.5 months, and it was life changing because like I'm privileged to be a woman who lives in the UK. I'm privileged to be in the UK. I'm privileged to know Christ. I'm privileged to be saved, and I'm privileged that I can do anything I put my mind to. There are some people in certain countries, no matter how intelligent you are, because of your gender, maybe your skin tone, maybe your color, your family, you're limited. That's it. After the age of 9, you're going to the farm. So just being there just really pushed me into whatever I decide to do, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it well. And that's just a snippet of, I don't even know, did I finish my testimony?
Yeah.
I came back to England after that. I went back to my old church, but then I remember God gave me the word that I will start a new church, and it will be a small church. So I went back to my old church, and there was like 500 people there, and I'm like, this ain't it. This is not the church. Yeah. And I had a friend who he started his church, and I'm like, I don't think it's your church either, kind of thing. But I know God's called me. He's given me these specific. I wrote it down, very specific words, and that's when I messaged who's now my husband. Like when
by the way, sorry guys, just to put it in there, how I know Vanessa, her husband's actually my boyfriend back in the day from like college times, named Zori, and like we were like this. We still are, so that's how I know Vanessa. I think the first time I met you was actually at you guys' wedding, and I still got like your wedding favors as well. So
oh wow,
yeah, I still stuff on our fridge. Yeah, not getting rid of that. So that was just a little, little bracket to give you more information as to how we know each other. So feel free to continue.
So a bit of a backstory-ish, in terms of, I met him at uni. I used to like him. He didn't like me, blah, blah, blah. Moving on from that, he knew me as the Christian girl, because I was the celibate lady who would do stuff with you, but not the full-blown stuff kind of lady. I had a little purity ring I used to wear. I'm like, I'm practicing celibacy to claim my Christianity. I do stuff. Anyway, so I come back now. I never pictured him as a Christian because he knew me as the Christian kind of thing. But when I sat in that service, God was just like, message him and tell him you want to visit his church. And I was just like, but I don't think he goes to church. But God was like, message him. And I was like, okay, I messaged him during the service. And I was like, I'm going to come to your church. He was like, okay. Because he had been inviting me to a concert. But in my mind, a concert was a celebrity performing, a Christian celebrity performing. So I was just like, oh, who's performing? And he'd be like, oh, no, just people from the church. I'm like, I don't come to that. Because who does that? But now I get it, obviously, because I go to the church. But so I went to the church. But when I went to the service that I went to, it was our conference. So there was like 2,000 people there. I was like, oh, this can't be right. Okay. And I was like, is this your church? He was like, no, this is our conference. My church is in Harrow and it's very small. I was just like, oh, how small are we talking? I go there on a Sunday and there's literally like 10 people. And like half of it was the pastor and his family. And I was just like, and it's like in a hotel room at the back. Like, I was just like, ooh. But then the second I sat there, God was just like, this is it. Obviously. And I was just like, wow, like, this is it? I even went to someone's baptism. I didn't know. After that day, I was just there every day, everything I was involved. But I think it's because I had the time to joke about with my Christianity that if God's called me to this might be my last chance. Because actually, 3 months, just a week before I was about to go to India, I visited another church, and the person preaching was just like, there's some of you in here, if you don't get your heart right now, you will lose your salvation forever and you will never be able to get it back. And I was just like, huh, that's me, because I always do well and then I'm not doing well. Do well and then I'm not doing well. Do well and then I head down. Yeah, I was very yo-yo for a very long time. And yeah, that's just, since then, just serving God, never looked back. Very grateful for my salvation. I know that if I was to die today, heaven will be my home, because Jesus kind of thing. And I'm privileged to have that assurance.
Amen. Amen.
I'm the testimony.
Oh, thank you for sharing. That's really interesting. Really interesting. Like me and you haven't spoken properly.
Yeah.
I think we've messaged each other here and there, or said hi here and there, and obviously you at my wedding as well. So it's nice actually, have this moment. So for sharing that with us. And now getting into the juicy or nitty-gritty part of it. Guys, I'm just going to throw it out there again. We're just going to be, raw, open, we're being transparent here. So if you can't handle the truth, or if this is too much for you, then feel free to make me jump off, or if you want to stay, fine. And just make sure that you're over 18 though. So because we're going to I'm just joking. But the next point that I just wanted you just to share a little bit with us is just to tell us a little bit about your experience with abuse and how it actually affected your life. And just before I, hand you over the word, I just wanted to share mine quickly. At 4 years old, I was violated. At 8 years old as well, I was molested. At 11 as well, I was molested. At 17, I was raped. Was it 16, 17? Yeah, 17, I was raped. And I lived heavily, pornography and masturbation was such a massive struggle for me. Like, there were so many times I tried to get out of it, but I couldn't. And for I can't even remember how old I was when I first started masturbating, when I first started even watching pornography as well. But I didn't, the sad thing is that I didn't know that my mind was so distorted because of the people who abused me. It's like as if I was, at such a young age, you're exposed to something. It's something, not that you, I'm not saying that you enjoy it, obviously you don't enjoy it, but you're exposed to it at such a young age, and it happens for such a long period of time, but then afterwards, when it's not there anymore, it's like you have the urge. You have a sexual urge, but obviously because there was no one around, so now I was trying to fulfill that urge with masturbation and with watching pornography. But however, it made me walk around with a lot of bitterness in my heart, because I was saying to myself, why me? What is it on my face? What is it on me? Why did they choose me to abuse me? Not that I wanted them to choose anybody else. I always asked myself, why did this have to happen to me? And also I was thinking to myself as well, why is it that I can't break out of this? I was really guilty. I felt ashamed. I was embarrassed. It took me a long time. It took me a very, very long time. And it's not until when I came to Christ, and even when I did come to Christ, 2 years later, I fell back into the same sin. And I fell back extremely heavily. I remember I'll be at uni, I'll be in my room, and my friends will be going to a gospel concert or going to a Christian event, and they'll be calling me and saying, oh, come along. And I'm like, oh, no, I can't come. Oh, I'm busy. Busy doing what? And I remember one time, going to church just after having a whole day just indulging in masturbation and indulging in pornography. And I went to church, and that day I literally felt dirty to the point where I felt like there was dirt literally coming out of my pores. But we thank God for His grace, and we thank Him that He's got us. And He has me during that period. And so that's just a little background for me. So I'll hand it over to you to share your experience with.
My experience is a bit different in a sense of, so in terms of, I'll focus mainly on when I actually got raped. So I was seeing a guy that maybe I shouldn't have been seeing.
Alright, go to the kitchen.
I was seeing stuff maybe I shouldn't have been seeing in the first place, kind of thing. And it was like a secret relationship kind of thing. But prior to that, when I was a lot younger, I was chubbier, and I had maybe a big bump. So a lot of uncles used to talk to me. Just be like, God, I really want boys my age to talk to me. I don't want boys, why are these old men talking to me all the time? So I always felt like, oh, why is it always old men? These old men. Can you imagine? These old men away, send the young boys to me. Which is just a distorted mindset to have anyway, kind of thing. And so when this boy started to show an interest, I was just like, oh, because he was roughly around my age. I was just like, oh, someone around my age who likes me. But I hadn't been involved in any relationships, or I've spoken to people, and older men have talked to me, but I've never been in a relationship before that age. And at the age of 15, 15, I had set in my mind that I have to lose my virginity before I'm 16. It has to go.
Wow. Okay.
Like, I was just like, this virginity, I need to get rid of it so I can have my fun. Some people say, oh, it hurts, and it hurts when you do it, so you just need to do the first time and then you'll be cool. She thought by the time I was 16, I have to get rid of this virginity thing.
Wow.
I saw it as a thing, kind of. So at the age of 16, I lost my virginity, and then I started seeing him roughly shortly after I lost my virginity, and then.
Did you lose it with him or with someone else?
Not with him.
Not with him. Okay.
Not with him, because weirdly enough, I was just like, because I knew him, I was just like, you don't deserve that privilege. My virginity. I see you, but I don't want you to have my virginity, which is just odd. Thinking back, why would I think that? But it's probably red flags I saw prior.
Okay.
In my mind that I just ignored, kind of thing. So, what happened then? I started seeing him, but it was like a secret relationship where I was just like, it's only in hindsight I realized I was exciting. I didn't even know I was exciting, kind of thing. Like, we'll be walking and he'll walk a couple of steps behind me, or a couple of steps, he'll tell me to go ahead and then he'll be behind. Like, it was just odd. Or we'll get on the bus at different times, or he will sit at different seats. But because I didn't know my value or what I expected, I just took it as this is just normal, how people treat people.
Wow.
Kind of.
Okay.
And then I started having sex with him a couple of times. But even then, it's not because I wanted to have sex with him. It was more because I enjoyed his company. But whenever I went to see him, it was just like, if you're going to come here, kind of, there has to be some form of exchange kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I like chilling with you kind of thing. But I don't want to, like, it was so bad that even, like, sometimes I'll go to his place and I'll wear a pad. I'll wear a pad pretending I'm on my period, and he would check me. Yeah.
Wow.
It's only in hindsight I started realizing I saw red flags and I did not run.
So he was controlling, basically.
In a way.
Yeah.
Yes, he would say things, oh, come and get this because of... I can't hear you as much, you know?
Oh, can you hear me now?
Not as much.
Oh.
I don't know if it's my phone. Let me put my volume up. My volume's at the highest.
Oh, because I can hear you perfectly.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Low, but I can make out what you're saying.
Okay.
All right. So then, yeah, like things like he would check me or say things, and I was just like, I don't know why I keep talking to you, kind of thing, but I like you, kind of thing. And what happened was my friend invited me to church. So I'm 16. I'm still 16 now. My friend invites me to church. I start going to her church because I left my mum's church. And then being there, I was just like, okay, I can't be fornicating. That's just wrong. Like, I can't do any of that.
So can you hear me now?
Not really.
No? Oh, no. What's going on? Okay, all right. I'll let you continue.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll let you continue. Yeah, go on.
Okay. So, what happened?
You left your mum's church?
Yes, I left my mum's church and I started going to my friend's church that she invited me, and I actually started doing well, kind of thing, like trying to build I don't remember getting saved, but I remember making a decision that, God, I know fornicating is wrong, so I don't want to do that anymore. And then I thought, rather than just saying it on the phone, I don't want to see you anymore, do anything with you, I fast up myself and go to this boy's house, knowing the kind of person he is, that every time you're coming to see me, there should be some form of exchange in the back of my mind. But I thought, oh no, there's some element of respect. Like, come on, I'm just here to tell you that I don't want to do this anymore, kind of thing. And that's when he raped me, kind of. That's when it happened. But it's only now I'm thinking that I suppressed it for so long because I thought I took myself there. So
yeah, you explain yourself, basically.
Yes. 100%. I took myself there, so I was just like, what did you expect? You know this kind of person. You know what you're working with. You know what you're dealing with. Yet you still went there. Why did you go there? You could have told him over the phone. You could have messaged him.
So
do you know what I mean?
Like, over in your mind.
Over and over again in my head, I was just like, you could have messaged him. You could have done this. You could have done that. And to make matters worse, I wrote a letter. I didn't speak to him for after that happened, I didn't speak to him for maybe 6-7 months or so. Wrote a letter. I thought I gave it to him. He said he never received anything. But anyway, and I was just like, why? When he saw me again, he acted normal. Like he hadn't done anything to me. So in my mind, I thought, oh, maybe I'm the one who's got it wrong. But I know I was violated because I was saying no. You were hitting me with a belt, kind of like it was very like I did not. I also regret the fact that. Sorry.
Quite abusive. Can everyone else hear me? Please let me know.
Can you hear her?
Yeah, guys.
Like, does that sound fine on your end? If you guys can comment.
Hold on.
Do you have headphones? You might have to put headphones in if possible.
Okay. I don't have. Kirsty, can you hear me? Oh, they're saying yes, so they can.
Oh, they can hear you. Okay.
Okay. Oh,
I can make out what you're saying. So
can you hear me? Can you hear us? Because she said I can see you, but can you hear me? Oh, it said we can hear you, Manuel. Okay, that's fine. So continue. Okay. I'll just try and shout.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So even afterwards, I was just like, it was my fault. So I have no grounds to say anything. And I wrote this letter, like 4 or 5 pages. 4 or 5 pages of why did you do this to me? Why did you do this to me? Blah, blah, blah. I got no answer. The next time I saw this person, they acted like nothing had ever happened. So in my head, I started to think, maybe I am just deluded. And if I'm going to go there, then it's your fault, Vanessa. You're the reason why it happened to you. It's not his fault. He was just trying it on with you and you allowed him, kind of thing. I was just like, but I didn't. I know I didn't. Like, I went there with the intention of, I don't want to see you anymore. Why would I all of a sudden want to do something with you? And I think a lot of women get caught up in this, like, unless it's like a stranger or an older person and you're very young, then it's not rape kind of thing. Or if it's
no, it's no.
Then it's not rape. And I was just like, if someone crosses the boundary with you and you say no and they keep carrying on and you say no, that's abuse.
Yeah.
And it took me years. It was so bad because I kind of formulated in my mind, rather than maybe get revenge or anything like that, I start to think maybe what I can do is I can work on him and make him fall in love and then break his heart. And I was just like, what a odd thing to think I can achieve for somebody who's like that. Because I know for certain I'm probably not the only girl who's done this to. Kind of thing. Yeah. Like his conduct, his character, how he is as a person, I'm probably not the only girl. I remember telling him he slept with over 50 women. I was just like, huh?
He was possibly lying, but, yeah.
To be honest, I actually believe him.
Okay.
The kind of person he is, he's very charismatic, so I believe him. But just like, I'm probably not the only girl you thought you could do this to because you felt too comfortable.
Yeah.
You felt too comfortable. You had no shame in your face talking to me again. You felt no way about it. And for years, I struggled with self-esteem. But I became like the opposite. I did not have a desire to be involved with anybody. I went to go see somebody else at the age of 17, maybe a year later, and then they tried to rape me. I was just like, oh, the first time you got me. This time,
not this time. Yeah, not this time.
Not this time. Only God knows, because this guy is like, who's the Rock kind of big guy? The
wrestler. Well, the ex-wrestler.
The way I wiggled myself, I was just like, hell no. Hell.
Holy Ghost strength
came back like a wave, like no. And like even after that, I became numb. Like guys would try it on with me. I'm like, bruh, I'm numb. Like I'll entertain you because I'm bored, but you can't turn me on. You can't do nothing to me. You can't, bruh. It's not gonna happen. You don't get that privilege with me. So like I had no sexual drive or anything like that. I was very numb.
Okay, so that's what the trauma made you.
Yeah, I think that's what it did to me. It made me very. So in a way, it kind of saved me from maybe sleeping around or anything like that. But I was very. Only after I got married and I realized this is not wrong or a sin. That's when I became okay. This is okay. You can enjoy it, fine, kind of thing. But prior to that, I was very. I was very. I'll make out with you, but don't think you can come to me.
Enjoyment.
And think you can have some form of turn me on business or you can do something with me and I'll be like, yeah, let's do this. No, I was very, very numb in that sense. So in terms of dealing with it, I battled a lot because I still spoke to this person here and there pretending nothing ever happened. Because if they're going to pretend, maybe I should just do that and move on with my life. And that's how I processed it as forgiveness. As long as I can move on with my life and just get on with it, then it's not a problem. And I did that for years until maybe a year and a half ago, or maybe 2 years ago, where it just came back. Like I just became angry. I was just like, how dare he do such a thing and get away with it? And I bet I'm not the only person who's done that. And that's when I spoke to my pastor, and my pastor was just like, vengeance is God's. It's not your job to get revenge or try and restore anything. You can't change anybody. You can't. All you can do is forgive and put it into God's hands. And I was like, I don't want to do that. I want to destroy this guy.
Like, they hurt me. They need to know how it feels.
I want to destroy him, but then part of me didn't want to destroy him, because if I destroyed him, then it will expose me. That I put myself in a position of being associated with him. So the shame of I took myself there was too much to bear, that I couldn't do, like, I'm going to come and destroy you, I'm going to expose you, I'm going to I put in my head, I'm going to print out his picture, put it on social media, create a fake account, and put rippies. I processed all of that in my head, and I was just like, I can't do that, because it's not my job to fix him, or what can I get once I've done that.
There's a question here. Sorry, just to cut you off. Sorry. There's a question here from Elisa. Was this the first time you spoke to anyone about this incident? When you spoke about it to your pastor? So you explained it to your pastor?
I think prior to before, like, people who may have experienced abuse or something like that, whenever they spoke to me, I just shared my experience with them. Snipping, I've been through this is how I deal with it. Even though I thought I'd forgiven fully, I probably hadn't, because I still used to think what I can do to destroy you. Kind of thing.
I mean, it takes time to heal, and everyone lives out their trauma in different ways. And I just wanted, just before you continue, so I just wanted to say, like, because when I got raped, it was similarly to you. It was an old friend that we just met up, and that's a story for another day. But, like, I blamed myself, because exactly like you, I went there. I kept saying to myself, I went there. It's my fault. I put myself in that predicament, blah, blah, blah. But it's not your fault. It took me, it will take you a long time to be able to snap out of that, like, you're literally in denial and say, if I didn't bring myself there, it wouldn't have happened. Other people may look at it and say the same, but at the end of the day, you didn't give the person the permission to violate you. So it's not your fault. And the fact that you actually said, no, it's not consensual, so it's not your fault. So just to encourage, if anybody has gone through anything like that, please let yourself know that, somebody abused you, somebody raped you, somebody in whatever, you're not to blame. You are absolutely not to blame. It's the person who's doing the abusing that has the issue. Because if you're a normal person, why would a normal person want to abuse anybody else? Clearly not. So it clearly shows that in this situation, the abuser, they have issues with their own self that they need to be able to sort out. So just a little encouragement there.
Okay, someone had, I saw 2 questions. Without being judgmental, don't you think always being around him made him want to rape you? And if so, did you see any red flags? Okay,
I think
interesting question.
Did you notice he tried being sexual with you? If so, did you leave, or do you feel like you could have avoided certain things with him? Okay.
So the first question about did I... I've forgotten it now. Where is it?
It says, without being judgmental, don't you think always being around him made him want to rape you? And if so, did you see any red flags?
Okay, so that's that question alone is an issue already. Why should being around somebody equate giving them the right to rape you? So does that mean anybody you're around means they have the right to rape you because you went around them? So that's the question. But another question is, if so, is there any red flags? So I don't know if you were here at the beginning of the conversation, but I mentioned that, like, I did see red flags, but I took it as that's just normal. I only see it as red flags in hindsight. Sometimes people talk like at the time you saw it as red flags, But at the time, I just saw it as this is just what relationships are like. Only because I didn't have any experience with relationships or saw a healthy relationship growing up. My parents were never together. I haven't seen a married couple a healthy relationship before. I was really young, for example. So I was never brought up in a stable home. Did you say something?
Yeah, oh, sorry. Yeah, I was saying, like, when you were explaining that the fact that you've never seen, like, there wasn't, like, healthy relationships around you. There wasn't maybe mum and dad together. You didn't have, you know, something to be able to guide you to know what is right and what is wrong. So
Exactly.
I was saying that also plays a part. And that's not the only reason. Sometimes you can come from, like, a healthy family as well. But sometimes you don't know any better, but like you said at the start, like from such a young age, older men were showing you interest, and it was kind of like in the sexual intention. So that already, you know, that's already the enemy, you know, implanting things in your mind.
Definitely.
So it's like,
because I even remember at the age of like 7. Because at this time I lived in Ghana, so 7, 8, like even the teachers used to like take me to the side and be like, oh, do you want to be my wife? And I'll be like, oh, no, sir, I don't want to be your wife, because I was just like, I don't know what that means. I don't know what that will mean. I'll have to do. So I was like, can I be wife number 2? And I'll take the position of wife number 2. And like teachers would have like extra favor for me because they thought I was pretty. They'll mark my work and give me extra grades because they thought, oh, so I always thought, okay, only old men like me. And I can use that to my advantage kind of thing. So that's all I knew in relation to relationships and men. And then the second question is, did you notice he tried being sexual with? If so, did you leave? So like, I don't know if you were here at the beginning of the conversation, but I did mention that this is somebody I had previously been involved with. So I had slept with him before. Like we were doing stuff together, and then I cut it off. And then when I got saved is when I decided, or when I started going to church is when I decided to try and end it completely and just have a conversation and say, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. And that's when everything just went left in a way.
Yeah. Okay. Right. I think.
Where were we then?
Yeah. So I think. Yeah, you answered the questions. I don't think there was any other questions there so far. Yeah, no. I think we've answered the questions that everyone. Yeah, so guys, we will have a moment at the end for time for question and answer. So if you want to wait until then, that's fine. But if you do want to send your questions right now as well, feel free. When we will actually see them come up, we'll try our best to be able to answer them. Yeah. So yeah, you were explaining before we got to that. You were explaining how you never really came out to, you know, speak about it to somebody openly. It's not only when people actually share their testimony that you actually say,
So it's maybe when someone maybe spoke to me or mentioned it, and then I just encouraged them. Like, I've been through it. I've been able to like get through it. This is how I dealt with it. But in that, I probably was lying to myself that I've dealt with it, but I'm able to cope with it, kind of thing. I'm getting so distracted with the.
Oh yeah, I think Elise was just making a comment. It's important to remember this is a hindsight conversation. These are despicable acts of violation which happen to youth, teenagers who at the time lacked a lot of
definitely.
Exactly right.
And that's the thing, you sometimes think, I look at 16, 15-year-old Vanessa and think, wow, you're such a different person to who I am now. And I think that's why I've got such a strong passion to help maybe that 16, 17-year-old now who I can maybe change their mindset or change their view about things.
Because guys, don't forget that she did mention that when, you know, growing up, she had a lot of low self-esteem as well. So that also played a part. And one thing that I've come to realize, because studying on all these issues with like abuse and domestic violence and whatever stuff, it's funny how, not funny like ha ha ha, but it's funny how is it perpetrators? The perpetrators is like they know who to choose. Like they know
100%.
who to target. Like they know who to target. Like they're prey.
100%.
Even when you look at domestic violent couples, relationships. It's like they know who to choose. Like, I don't know how I'm going to explain it, but it's like they know who to target. So it becomes, and they know the right thing to say when the right time to make the person feel whatever.
Yeah, if you suffer from low self-esteem, it shows in your conduct. It shows in your character. Predators know their prey.
Yeah.
Like, you can't, because I did confront him at some point and realized because you were dumb. After he said that to me, it confirmed my worry in my head that, maybe that is why. It is because I was dumb.
Sorry, go back a little bit. Why did he say to you because you were dumb?
I asked him, why did you do that to me? And he said because you were dumb. Like he said it like nonchalant, like, it's because you were dumb. But I think he still thought I was still the same little girl that he used to deal with, kind of thing. With the same, see when people freeze people, because after that relationship, there's nothing else to us. So there's nothing for you to be like, okay, I've matured into this person. He was just like, it's because you were dumb. I thought, oh my, but I internalized those words so much that I actually.
And he knew what he did. Exactly what he did. He knew what he did.
Oh, 100%.
He can't be saying all this. Like, he knew what he did. He's in denial. He's the one fish. But anyways,
100%.
But we're just stating facts.
Yeah, 100%. And I think this is like, I realize now that I'm sharing my experience more, my experience is more of the grey area of rape in a sense, because it's somebody I know and dealt with previously. Because I even told a family member that what had happened to me, because I was like, I'm going to start sharing this. So I thought you should know before I start sharing it online. And they were like, it's not that bad. It was somebody you did a thing with, so it's not that bad. I was just like,
yeah, there's a difference between consensual, is it? Yeah. Consent and say no.
Exactly.
Even if you are in a relationship with the person. And I know there's like a whole big debate, a whole palaver about this. Obviously, different context, different situation, whatever. But even if you are in a relationship with somebody and the person wants to get it on and you say no, that person has to respect your no. Even husband and wife. We're not anybody's properties, if you know what I mean. We're not like your pen that you can pick up at any time and dash around. Like, let's get that straight. And I know that there's been quite a lot of debate and stuff, like even in marriages, and I'm going to say it clear, my husband will back me on this, and I'm sure that your husband will back you on this as well. It's like, they don't own us. So exactly, thank you. Even Lisa said it. And this is a beautiful woman married with 2 kids. Your husband, there's some situations where husbands have raped their wives, and then they say, at the end of the day, she is my wife, so I can. No, sir, no. Like, so
exactly.
Just wanted to put that out there. Just to also, just going off of everything that we shared, I wanted to ask, like, sorry, I'm saying this very bluntly, but I'm saying with a lot of compassion here. Like, how did that situation of abuse, how did it affect your life? How did it affect you growing up?
I think after it happened...
And sorry, how did it affect you? How did it play out as well in you, going back into dating again? Like, how did that whole thing affect you?
So I think I mentioned it prior as well. Like, I liked... I think I became a bit of like a Jezebel in a way, but in the way people would just think of it. I think mine was more to be able to control people, because I'm like, nobody's ever going to control me. So